Another problem that we're seeing is cell phone usage. A lot of people are trying to use their cell phones and they've just been busy. They're really not working at all. But we are seeing some of that famous American ingenuity when people are faced with adversity. People are getting together, they're finding people who are going to their same destination, and they're carpooling together. They are renting cars to try and get to where they need to go tonight. The mood here, really not too bad. People are trying to keep their sense of humor. They are starting to get a little frustrated, but they know that they just have to settle in for a long night until we hear some information. Brian?
Annie Rourke of WVIT. She is in New Haven for us tonight. We're looking at live pictures of what continues to be the human exodus off of the island of Manhattan tonight. They are headed across the very hot 59th Street Bridge. That is the very same location where we just spoke with Rahema Ellis. And note the common thread in so much of our coverage tonight: what is old is new again. Suddenly ferry boats are back in vogue. Trains are running on diesel engines. It's going to occur to someone to invent paper mail to make up for email, till they realize that's been around for a good long time as well. Rahema Ellis, if you can still hear me, are you getting any stories out of the New York subway system? That, of course, has been the chief concern all day long. Thousands of people in long, dark tunnels with only the information from the PA, from the motorman of their trains. All right, apparently we've lost touch with Rahema Ellis, things being what they are in New York. How about correspondent Robert Bazell on the streets of the city? Robert, are you with us? Not yet. We'll continue to tell you what we know. Again, a vast network of some major East Coast industrial capitals totally knocked out just after 4 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon. And here in New York, we are coping with it with emergency generators, trying to get air to circulate and power to move through the wires that we have up and running. Detroit, Michigan, Toronto and Ottawa, Canada, Albany, New York, parts of the state of Connecticut, New Jersey, Akron, Ohio, to name some of the population centers hit by this. It is vast, it is history-making, all because we are told two of the great and combined venerable names in the state of New York history, the Mohawk Niagara power system was the first to go down. When it went down, the rest of the systems went out in short order, almost like a game of electronic dominoes. When one went, it did so with enough force, and the system is just old enough and carrying a modern-day load that was the chain reaction. Ashley Banfield remains outside the Today Show studios on the Plaza at Rockefeller Center in the center of this city. And Ashley, are you hearing any stories of people who have come out having either been trapped in elevators, subway cars, and the like?
A woman who actually walked down 60 floors just to get out of her building, not wanting to attempt the elevator. And we're hearing a lot of stories of people who've done that. We've not heard of anybody who was trapped in an elevator, but we've heard of people who heard people were trapped in elevators. It's very hard to know at this time. But what I do want to tell you, Brian, is that with all of the lights out in Times Square and throughout this city, there's a grave concern for a lot of the managers and the store owners in that area that they'll be looting later on. And so they're boarding up a lot of their stores and closing their stores and trying to protect against what might happen in another hour and a half when night falls throughout New York City. Also, a helicopter has been hovering over Times Square. It was too high for us to see whether it was NYPD or military, National Guard. We weren't sure, but clearly they were keeping a very close eye on the throngs, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who were not only overflowing the sidewalks, but clogging the streets as well. Traffic police in Times Square were trying to just clear the people out of the streets so that cars, ambulances, and police cars could actually get through. It was quite a mob scene, but you know, the surprising thing, most people taking it in stride, Brian. Very different scene than 9/11. Not the panic, not the fear, lots of confusion, but clearly most people just annoyed more than anything else. Brian?
Ashley Banfield from the Today Show Plaza, and perhaps we should go back to and help to explain that live picture and dwell for just a moment on how it is.
This is an NBC News special report. Here is Brian Williams.
It is only because of emergency generators that we are able to welcome you to our NBC News headquarters here in 30 Rockefeller Plaza in Midtown Manhattan, where the lights are out. For that matter, they are out west to Cleveland, Ohio, and north to Ottawa, Canada, in a huge and history-making blackout This was the scene when the lights went out, and by that we mean street lights, we mean Wall Street, subways, everything in this financial capital at the height of summer tourist season, say nothing of the huge, for hundreds of miles, stretches of land affected by this tonight. The power went out shortly after 4 p.m. Eastern Time. There were fears of the very worst at first, given our new reality in this country, but quickly after that we were assured it was a natural cause, as they say in the power business, a power grid, a big one that went out in the state of New York. The Mohawk Niagara, as it's called. If it sounds familiar, it was involved back in 1965 at the very start of the modern power era when it went out then as well. Tonight we are dealing with the approach of darkness, but so far in New York, the opposite of panic in the streets. In fact, New Yorkers doing what they do like no one else in the world, getting along in a crisis. You have seen all kinds of examples so far today of people helping total strangers out of a jam. Tonight they're helping each other out of the city. We have two correspondents.